Hello, welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Geoffrey Card, and over here we've got a special guest, Derreck Blaise from the Blaise XPerience Podcast. How you doing, Derreck?
Good, yourself?
Pretty well. I've also got Brant Fitzgerald here. He's going to be driving the game.
I'm just furniture.
He's just furniture with, thumbs on controllers. And for those of you who don't know, Derreck up here he is one of our most prominent members of our community. He does the Blaise XPerience Podcast, which is a State of Decay focused podcast, but he also plays a lot of other games and discusses a lot of other games on that podcast. It's a really good podcast. I listen to it every single week, and it actually helps me figure out how we need to refine our game, and he really helps helps us stay on top of what we're doing. So that's good. But he organizes community events. He's very active on our Discord. It has basically is a mod on our Discord, and so there's like all these things that he does. We really wanted to have a chance to bring him in here to chat with us. So we're thrilled to have you. We feel like you're the celebrity in the room, and we're honored to have you here in the room with us.
We are. Thanks for coming today, because you've been really involved, and it's keeping people engaged in the game in ways that we weren't doing. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any way I can help, I'm glad to do it.
So before we get started, discussing any of the bigger questions, let's figure what are we doing here. So my community needs food. My community is surrounded by plague hearts, and my community's has had historically a pretty high threat level.
We're gonna go over and take care of some of these threats.
Okay, cool.
Like that one.
Let's do it.
Notice, by the way, you both have crossbows. And you both have really interesting loadouts. Why don't you go stand back to back with Blaise? So Blaise has got which weapons are these from the Zedd Hunter pack?
I have the Mamba sword, and I also have the sniper crossbow.
Cool. And then on our back we've got the handmade crutch crossbow. And the spatula. So we're kind of more in the sort of
very different loadouts.
We're in the sort of silly improvised apocalypse zone, and you're in the much more serious, like hardcore badass zone.
Yes.
I will point out that Undead Marcus is here in the chat, and he's the one who made that beloved Mamba sword.
Oh yeah, it looks really good. I love the serrated guard on the hand.
Oh yeah. If we ever make an animation of you punching a zombie with it, that would be awesome. But all right, so what do you say we go use our crossbows to take out a plague heart, which
let's do it.
On the surface sounds really foolish.
You've also got a bunch of pipe bombs in case you run into trouble, and some distractions. Oh wow, you've been. Check out these beautiful icons on the ground. The new Zedd Hunter improvement there. That's actually, honestly, my favorite thing from Zedd Hunter was the fact that we've got these icons that help you figure out what you've dropped on the ground. Which it seems like a minor thing, but man, it's a kind of a lifesaver for me. When it kind of snuck in too, like a programmer just realized, hey, I could do this, and then just did it, and the rest of us like, whoa, you just made the UX of the game much better. You are so cool. I just forgot which programmer it was, but it was an awesome person who works with us.
You want to have some fun, Brant?
Depending on your definition of fun.
You want to use a block rocker?
Oh, crap. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'll drop it down right here. I love using those.
I love the block rocker.
So Jesse Baker on YouTube is asking us if we can get the technician outfit. So we just with Zedd Hunter, we added the classic Red Talon outfit to your recruits. And they're asking if we can get the technician outfit too. So far, there are only 2 technician models. And so actually that would get pretty boring. You'd have a lot of very identical people. But I'll write that down, because if we ever do go and expand our list of characters, that's not an unreasonable thing for us to consider.
Did you see the heart yet?
Oh, I was just...
You're just killing zombies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Heart's in the bathroom.
The block rocker doesn't last forever.
Uh-oh.
Oh, here we go. It's progressing. It's calling for help.
All right, I'll keep shooting.
Brant's here guarding for ads if they come in. Oh, here we go.
I wasn't guarding very well.
It's all right. We're hanging in there.
Maybe.
Intrepid Pioneer wants us to bring back the
Here we go.
The frying pan melee weapon, by the way, Brant. Keep that in mind.
You know, the original version of the frying pan melee weapon had a fried egg in it.
What?
Yeah.
That's cool, actually.
Just stuck to it?
Just stuck to it forever.
That's like all of my pans. Like, I come home at the end of the day, and it's just all of my pans are covered in food. I need to teach my kids to actually wash the dishes. Right now, we just have our kids putting away the dishes, but we need to level them up.
We took it out with only crossbows, so.
So, that's pretty amazing. Those are some very powerful crossbows.
I was really close to throwing a grenade on accident, though.
That would have been hilarious. So Shizno Elite is having the same problem that you're having, Brant, is that Red Dead Redemption 2 has taken over their life. And it did the same thing for me for a while until Fallout 76 distracted me. Very different games, but Fallout 76 really has been scratching an itch for me.
Yeah, so every time you see me jump like that, I'm really trying to sprint.
Oh, 'cause you're hammering the A button, like...
Hammering away on the A button. So I did notice a infestation that we should go take care of.
Yeah, I just marked it. We can take care of that.
Oh, perfect. You're way ahead of me. All right.
Asgard is wondering if Blaise has blood plague or is injured or something. Apparently, he doesn't think you're looking too good. But you seem fine.
No, I have a little bit of my meter filled, but not much. My character's a little bit tired, but barely. So that's probably what it is. They're a little bit tired.
I'm going to check the trunk here real quick in case they have... Oh, they got one bullet.
Huh. Tag Bradshaw asks if there's any way for us to show the color of the colors of backpacks when they are in your inventory.
Oh, before you put them on?
Let me take a note of that. I think that's it's a big... That would be an enormous, boring job, but we could probably put it into the text. Let me make a note of that. I don't know if we'll have time, but that's a pretty useful thing. Is there so many zillions of backpacks in the game?
The tech that we use to recolor backpacks might not be exposed to the system.
We'll have to see. I think I can get a preview of it. If I can get a preview of it and go through without having to actually put on each backpack in the game and then write down what color it was, if I can get away with not doing that, that might actually not be that hard to pull off. Because like I said, I've been playing Fallout 76, and one thing that is really rough for me is I've got 4 different suits of power armor, and nothing in the inventory tells me which one I've got highlighted. So I always have to get all 4 of them out, pick the one I want, and then put the other 3 away. And I imagine backpacks are really similar to that. So
there are some really nice backpacks. So I have one backpack that has the State of Decay logo on it, which is cool.
That's cool.
All right.
So, Jesse Baker says that they've gotten civilian clothes with Red Talon and not the normal Red Talon clothes. That kind of surprises me. I haven't heard of that. We did just unlock a second option with Red Talon that lets you choose their old school uniforms and not the balaclava. So if you use the classic recruit option, maybe you got what felt like civilian clothes. But yeah, they should always come in uniform. I would be really surprised if that's changed. But if that's an issue, definitely let us know via support.stateofdecay.com.
There you go.
Which is our new portal for telling us when crap is wrong. So, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put the Decay Fest schedule on OBS so that I can share it with everybody, which is too bad because one of the things that has been awesome having Derreck Blaise here in our community is the fact that he's organized a lot of big community events for us. He and Mr. Dart and a few other folks have gotten together and organized these things. One of them is called Decay Fest, which I believe you're starting a new one this Friday. Is that right, Derreck?
Yes, there's a new one this Friday. It's going to be a 2-day event lasting on Friday and Saturday. And basically at Friday at 7 a.m., we start the event and streams go nonstop until 3 a.m. on Sunday. So
it's a big streaming event. Basically, like superstars from the State of Decay 2 community, they all get together, stream on Twitch and on Mixer. and you just basically for 2 solid days, different people are streaming at different times of day, and just sort of exploring and celebrating the latest version of State of Decay 2, the Zedd Hunter pack.
Correct. Yep, we're going to be celebrating Zedd Hunter, and we'll also be previewing a couple of challenges that will be used in Undead Trials. I don't know if you want to mention that now or later, but
oh yeah, so Undead Trials, yeah, that's a whole other thing that's happening later on in December, and
yes.
yeah, that is we'll definitely talk about that a little bit later too. But the last Decay Fest. So wait, was it Decay Fest or Undead Trials where you guys were also soliciting donations to Extra Life?
that was Undead Trials 1.
That was the first Undead Trials. So yeah, okay, well then we can talk about that because Undead Trials is really fascinating. So people in the community have been asking for a long time for this game to get harder, and we actually announced at XO18 in Mexico City recently that we are going to be releasing an update sometime in the near future that does give people options for making the game harder. We haven't gone into a lot of details about exactly what we're doing. We've actually got a post on the State of Decay Reddit asking people for input, what they want to see out of a harder State of Decay 2. So if you haven't been to the State of Decay subreddit, please go over there and check that out because we'd love to get you guys' input. But in advance of that, you guys figured out a way to make the game harder, which is which was pretty helpful. You basically so the Undead Trials is you come up with limitations and rules for how you play, and then you earn points by doing Daybreak playthroughs with the restrictions and seeing what's the craziest way you can win a round of Daybreak. And whoever manages to get the most points in a set amount of time, is that what it is?
Yes, that's basically how Undead Trials 1 worked. The second one is going to be based on the base game, so it's not going to be on Daybreak this time, but that's how the first one worked, yes.
So is it still going to be like a time thing, like get as many points as you can within a certain amount of time?
It's going to be more based on rounds, so we're going to have 4 different rounds, and basically round 1's going to be the first couple of days, then round 2, and etc. But essentially, it's going to eliminate people throughout the week. So we could start with, say just 150 people, and then we're going to get down to 1 person who's the grand champion.
Looks like we got a Juggernaut to fight with a crossbow, which sounds amazing.
Let's do it.
Let's fill him with pins and needles. But yeah, we do have. Let's see here. I wonder.
I love how it just pin cushions this guy.
The one thing with this crossbow is it's very slow to reload.
Yeah, that's true. And if you dodge or something like that, totally messes it up, right?
Oh, yeah.
So just don't dodge. It's fine.
Yeah, with the big Juggernaut chasing me.
Yeah, I love watching your guy just roll around, do commando rolls.
Oh, he got me that time. There we go.
Nice.
Now he's going to have like 30...
30 bolts in him.
Yeah. Well, that was easy. We need food, though. And I didn't find any... I don't think I found any in here.
I didn't either. Let me see if there's anything on the map that's close by.
Oh, I got one more main place to check for food here.
We got a tartan mart right here, right across the road.
Perfect. And no food.
So, by the way, if anybody who's in the chat right now wants to get involved with Undead Trials, you don't have to you don't have to be one of the hardcore folks who aces Daybreak with solo with just melee weapons or anything like that. Like anybody who wants to can get involved with this, and so we can post a link in the chat to send you to the information for how you sign up and get involved with Undead Trials. If you've I think the way you put it, Derek, was like if you've played the game for 5 hours, you've played it for 500 hours, it doesn't matter. Everybody's invited.
Exactly.
So let's get that link into the chat. We'll also, once this goes on YouTube, we'll get it down in the doobly-doo so people can check it out there. But yeah, we would love to get as many people involved in that as we can. And by we, I mean you, because you're setting it up and we're just sitting here sitting back and enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm the person that has the whole schedule, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I realize you probably don't sleep at all during these events.
I really don't, honestly. I mean, during these events we put on, I'm probably sleeping like 2 hours a day. So.
So Hansel Ladola wants to know what inspired you to start your podcast. And actually, I've been really curious. So I've got one group of friends who started making a podcast one time, but like I've never. I listen to them constantly. Like it's sort of the soundtrack of my life is listening to people on podcasts. But I've never actually really considered what it would take to get one up off the ground from scratch. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that's like and what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So kind of what inspired me, there's this podcaster named Rob Cisternino, and basically if anyone's ever seen the reality show Survivor, he talks about that show and reality shows because he was actually on Survivor.
Oh, cool.
So he was kind of the first person that kind of inspired me to do it because I listened to his podcast a while, and he kind of got me into listening to other podcasts. And through him, I had a Skype conversation with him one day about like starting a podcast, and I thought, well, this is something that I actually like to do because I like listening to podcasts. I think I could actually start it out, and I think I'd like to do it. So that's kind of what inspired me to do it. And basically, when you're starting a podcast, you have to kind of pick a topic. And one of the things I've always loved is video games. So I figured I'll start a podcast on video games. And a lot of video games, or a lot of video game podcasts at least, they talk about like the news of the week. And I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be different. So I talk about a lot of the game mechanics and strategy in games. That way I can actually try to help gamers out.
Yeah, and I found it, certainly if I was just a player of State of Decay 2, I would find your podcast immensely valuable because you go into such exhaustive detail, explaining how things work, comparing things, helping people, give them enough data to really, inform their strategies. But then as a developer of State of Decay 2, I also listen to your podcast because it really helps me sort of, we build things imagining how people are going to play them, but then getting your perspective on it because you're so thorough and you really give, each system in the game such a thorough evaluation. It gives us a lot of perspective on like, oh, that's how people are actually playing this. That's what's actually valuable. This is less valuable. We thought this other thing was going to be the star of the show, but really it's this thing. Like you really you help shape our thinking about the way the game works. In fact, since we're getting home, we should tell the story of Blaise did this one podcast where he was talking. I think were you going through all of the facility actions, or was it the bases in Cascade Hills?
I was going through the bases of Cascade Hills, and that's where I talked about it.
That's what it was. Okay, yeah. So you were talking about one of the advantages of this right here. We've got the church on the hill. Is the fact that it's got this bell tower where you can ring the dinner bell, attract a bunch of zombies, and when you defeat them, you end up with a threat level reduction. So basically, you just clear out all the zombies in the area, and now your threat level's reduced. But you called out on that podcast the fact that it actually was kind of a freebie because most of the time you would use it and like a zombie would show up, if that. And you'd get the full benefit and no fight. And when I listened to that, I realized, I went and I talked to Brian Giammi, who's our facilities designer, and among other things. And we talked about the fact that basically very, very late in development, we got the ability to trigger missions with facilities. But when he implemented the bell tower, we didn't have that ability, and so he couldn't make a proper siege happen at your base because that's all mission driven. It's basically treated like a big mission, and so he couldn't make it. So what he did instead was he had hacked it so that he just made a really loud noise at the base whenever you triggered the bell tower, and so he would if there happened to be zombies around, they would all get attracted into the base, and you could fight them, but that was it. But now that we had the ability, but after, I listened to your podcast, I went and talked to Brian, we realized that now we actually could trigger missions with facilities. And so we could go back and completely redo the way the bell tower worked, so it actually summoned one of the sieges that Leah had created. So that's what it does now. So now instead of just making a noise and hoping there are zombies around, we actually trigger a proper siege that spawns its own zombies in waves. It's got people talking to you on the radio, communicating about it. There's a lot more going on. And it's a much more interesting experience. In fact, it's so much more interesting. We needed to actually up the benefit of it. So now it actually reduces the threat level even more when you do it. So do you guys want to do one of these sieges?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let me load up a little bit.
Yeah. I think the last time I used Jacob, I was planning to repair our cars and then I forgot to.
Here, I'll switch characters. Use somebody else for the siege. I'll use my guy with a shotgun.
So it's actually kind of amazing how many things in our game, because we kind of came right down to the wire, right before release. There's a lot of places in the game where we use the mission system to implement something that normally you might treat as its own special separate feature. And sieges are one of those things where basically we already had a mission system that could do all of this stuff. It could generate waves of zombies. It could cause people to talk to you and deliver dialogue lines. And, it could find your base and spawn things around your base. It could do everything we needed. And so rather than coming up with a separate siege system, Leah just built a bunch of missions that were siege missions, and then we triggered them, using the same kinds of criteria that can trigger other missions. And it actually works really well. And so that's what we're going to see here once you
all right,
once you kick it off.
Are we ready?
I hope so.
Let's do it.
Let's see.
Let's see how this works.
Hear the bell tolls for thee.
All right, 20 seconds.
While we're waiting, Alan Gunderson from the old forums had a question for you, Brant. Wondering if we could get that Burninator pickup truck, if there's ever going to be a non-Independence Pack, non-flaming version of it, just a patriotic truck just thrown into the game.
Don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we can't usually promise that kind of thing until we know we're definitely doing it. But that's a good suggestion. We'll keep it in mind.
Wow, you can definitely tell it works a lot better now.
Yeah,
I
so
can see Juggernaut's coming. Yeah, and everything.
And actually, I should move Derreck over so we can see that. You see right there, we've got the mission. You can tell that it involves a mission because you can see that you've got mission objective text in the upper right hand corner.
Uh-oh, Jug's inside.
All right.
Just shake that belly.
I like this. It actually involves a Juggernaut. It's got some zombies with armor coming on. This is much better.
Yeah, so I hope you're proud of yourself, because we might not have even thought of making this particular improvement if you hadn't been talking about it on
I appreciate that. Thank you.
On your podcast.
I know one of the other things you actually added was the sewing textbook too, which I appreciate.
Oh, yeah, that was another place. Yeah, because you had talked about I think you did a podcast that was about an episode that was about the skill books, right? Like all the books, all the weird skills you could get from the skill books.
Right, all the quirk skills. Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, Farrell.
And you were kind of mystified why, because Brian and I, it was kind of a last-minute addition to the game when we added the rare skill books.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, we got a Conehead guy.
Conehead.
So the skill books were a last-minute addition to the game, and so Brian and I sat down. We looked through the skills. We're like, oh, which ones do we think are the best ones? The most interesting ones. We'll put those in the skill books. And we missed sewing, and you caught that sewing was at least the same caliber as the other skills that we got books for. And you called it on your podcast, and so I heard that and made a note of it. And the next time we added skill books, we're like, well, let's just sneak that one in.
No, sewing is a great skill, and I love having that skill.
And so, and the reason that you liked it was because it gives you deeper stacks of like consumables and like painkillers and explosives and things like that.
Okay, I haven't played this before. I mean, since we made improvements, and this is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
It truly is. I mean,
it is, yeah.
Because we've been playing a lot of other games lately. In fact, Hansel Adola wants to know how much has the other games we've played, how much does that inspire our work on State of Decay? Because you've been playing a ton of Red Dead Redemption 2. I played some of that. I've been playing Fallout 76. I would say, so it's interesting. Usually you can't point exactly to what influence caused you to do something.
Oh, crap.
Now and then you know that you totally built on an idea from another game, but a lot of the time it's just playing other games gives you context. It helps you just sort of understand what's out there. And so I can't think of a specific experience or a specific feature of, say, Fallout 76 that's leading directly in my head to something I want to do in a future game. But I'm sure if you play, whenever you play the next game or the next expansion or the next whatever for State of Decay, there are probably going to be fingerprints of whatever games we've been playing in the meantime. Not really big obvious ones, but the influences are there, and it's hard to deny that the other great games out there that are accomplishing big things make a difference. I know that one of our animators has actually been he's been going through other games that do similar things to us, like taking our mechanics one by one and looking at a bunch of other games that do the same thing and recording videos demonstrating and comparing, like our what does it look like to shoot over the shoulder of a character. In our game it looks like this, in Red Dead Redemption it looks like this, in Tomb Raider it looks like this, in The Division it looks like this, and going through like in Assassin's Creed it looks like this, and it's amazing how different each of those games is. They're all doing the same thing, but they all do it in pretty significantly different ways, especially once you start drilling down into the details of the animations. And, so we do our best to, on that granular level, really learn from what other people have tried or what other people have done so that we can then go and try to do the best version of what our game needs.
Screamer.
We don't have any blood plague cure.
I think we should have a lot of samples, though. You could probably craft it in the infirmary. We've got a decent infirmary. And I just trained a doctor, too, so.
Look at that. Blam. Now I can aid the blood plague victim.
There you go. No, that siege was a lot more fun, though. I like that siege. That was really cool.
And actually, open up the base screen and whenever you get the chance.
As soon as I stick her in the neck.
Yeah. And let's look at the threat level. Just make sure that it actually went down properly, because I think it's supposed to work. I tested it.
Oh, the confidence that we have.
Oh, I know, right? It's just we've had so many experiences. Yes, check out that threat level. Way low. So, and that is not the threat level we had before. In fact, I think if you go and highlight
it,
yeah,
that's really low.
It'll break it down. So, yeah.
No, it actually feels like the final mission for the builder, it actually feels like a siege like that now. So it feels like a really caliber siege.
Yeah, that's kind of. I can't take any credit for it. I basically took one of the sieges that Leah had made and copied and pasted it and put it here. So,
well, thank you, Leah.
Yeah, just made a couple of minor changes and that was it. There's, a feature is more likely to get into the game if it can be achieved by copying and pasting something. Because it's so much. I mean, I still had to make a lot of changes to it. I still had to test it thoroughly. It's not like it was no work, but it can be so much quicker if you've got something you can already, some foundation you can already build on. So let's see here. I have lost track. Oh, one thing I was going to say was, in case people didn't catch it in the pre-stream, we are going to be giving away 3 of these pins. These are black State of Decay Skull Eagle pins, and we're going to be giving these out to folks who can answer trivia questions towards the end of the stream. So at about 1:50 Pacific time, we'll be pulling this thing out and trying to get people to answer questions. So stick around if you want to get a chance at one of these pins, and we'll explain the details a little bit later.
And I'm not allowed to answer this time.
Yeah. So far, Derreck has known the answer to every single question that we've done, and so he is finally recusing himself because I actually already told him the question in advance, and so it really wouldn't be fair.
Dirty cheater. Okay, what's this guy have?
So
Toro
is his name. I've been falling behind on the chat here.
Got another play card if you want to take it out.
Yep, I'm gonna get Toro all gussied up for this here.
So Mr. Dart asks, is it bigger if you ring the bell or if you got a Cleo drop? I'm pretty sure they're about the same. I'm trying to remember now whether I might have actually literally copied the siege that's used in the Cleo drops. No, I didn't. I copied the conventional siege. So I'm not actually sure. So the siege you get when you ring the bell tower, it's the same exact siege, basically, that you get when your threat level is high and when you're away from base, people say, hey, come back to base, there's going to be a siege. And if you hang out outside your base and don't go, then they'll spend 3 ammo and maybe you'll take some damage to your facilities and that kind of thing. It's that exact siege. And so, in fact, if you ring the dinner bell and then just leave home and just go across the map, the same resolution will happen. It really works the exact same way. Hey, K-Sizzle, who has been a guest on your podcast, wants to know how it feels to cross 50 episodes. That's a ton.
Yeah, it's definitely very fun, and crossing 50 episodes is a great accomplishment. It kind of was, I guess, grueling to get there, but it really was rewarding to do it. So
because podcasts are a lot of work.
It was
right?
really rewarding.
Like it's not just as simple as let's chat into a mic for a while and then hit save and then publish. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about what goes into making an episode of a podcast?
Yeah, definitely, because every episode, I mean, it takes hours and hours of work to make it because, for one, like the way I do my podcast, there's a lot of pre-planning because mine isn't a News of the Week show, so I have to actually do a lot of pre-planning. So say I'm going to talk about the bases of Cascade Hills, I have to actually do a lot of research about every base before I actually start talking about it. So I have to make an outline, which takes me a while. Then I have to hit record and record. And then after I record, I have to edit it. And then after I edit, I have to, post it to social media and all these things. So it takes a lot of work. And just the editing alone, I mean, I've gotten faster with it. But like when I first started in episode 1, it took me like 8 hours to edit an episode. And now it takes me probably 2 to 3 hours, but it's still a decent amount of time.
And so, in editing involved, because when you originally record it, you've got retakes that you're doing on the fly, I imagine, and there's just places where like might be little popping sounds and just weird things, and you have to go through that with a fine-tooth comb and just clean the whole thing up, cut out anything you don't want, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things is like breasts too. I have to use a software to try and get rid of the breasts because no one wants to hear you breathing every 5 seconds. So,
I remember I listened to one of my podcasts. I listened to is "Delete This" by Hank Green, by Hank and Catherine Green. And I think a couple episodes ago they accidentally released their raw audio instead of their edited audio.
Okay, I'm laying down C4.
Nice.
And so you can hear them like just sort of wandering around, chatting with each other, ruffling through papers. Like they'll stop the podcast for a second to just talk through, the next thing they're gonna do, or like do research on the internet. And they're just doing all of this stuff live. I'm listening to them like, what is going on? Because it took me a while to figure out that was what happened. That they accidentally released their raw unedited audio. But like they were even talking as though the theme music was playing when the theme music was not playing and stuff. It was really interesting to listen to. So it made me appreciate the work that goes into making these things.
Yeah, definitely. And there's some podcasts that actually release it unedited on purpose. And it's mostly because a lot of people, they don't want to spend the time editing or they don't know how to. And it's definitely a lot of work to learn that to fly because I'm not someone that knew how to edit before I started it. I just kind of, taught myself. And when you do it that way, it takes even longer to learn it. So,
well, I guess so. Anybody who wants to go check out the Blaise XPerience podcast, by the way, if you haven't watched it already. So Blaise XPerience, that's how it's spelled. You can see that down below his name. That's his Twitter handle. But the Blaise XPerience podcast, it's spelled like that. And if you look that up, we can actually post a link to it probably in the chat, and we'll definitely, once this goes on YouTube, we'll put a link down in the doobly-doo, so you can scroll down and find that. Really, seriously, if you're into State of Decay at all, check out his podcast. It is full of detailed, thorough information that can inform your strategy and make you a better State of Decay 2 player.
Now.
Once this guy goes down, we got another question for Derek from the chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Huh. Wonder is reporting that they're actually having trouble hearing me, which is a first time for the entire podcast. So I'll make sure I'm speaking directly into the mic so that I can be heard better. The problem is I keep trying to lean into the camera over here probably, and I'm betting that I'm getting lost by the mic.
Which we can probably mention too that you were actually on the podcast once if you want to check that out.
Oh, that's true. I don't remember which episode it was number-wise.
33.
33.
33. Yep.
Of course, but yeah. So yeah, I was on the podcast, and it was actually one of the more fun podcasts. I've done a few podcasts before. I had a lot of fun chatting with you about it. You had good questions.
Thank you.
It really got me talking, which was fun for me. Hopefully
and episode
fun for
50, episode 50 was really special, and that one I had Juggernaut to talk to too. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, and yeah, Jurgen. A lot of folks have seen him on our stream. He's a cool dude to work with. He's one of our programmers. So Mr. Dart actually wonders if you've got a favorite episode of all the episodes that you made, and I think he might be trying to get you to say that it's the one that he was on as a guest, or.
It might be, yeah.
Self-promotion.
I mean, I definitely have a special place for the ones I did with you and Jurgen because those were something different that was like an interview style, which is really cool, but it wasn't like a typical episode that I do. So if he's talking about a typical episode where I go through like a lot of strategy, mechanics, and things like that, I would probably say I'm sorry, Mr. Dart, but I would probably say episode 26, which is the first time I had Maris on, and we kind of talked about all the facility mods, and I think that episode went really well. And the reason why it's kind of my favorite is because Maris at the time, he had some different takes on facility mods than I did, and we kind of, argued back and forth about them a little bit in a professional manner, and we kind of like gave our opinions, and it ended up being a really cool episode that I think it was one of the longer ones too. It was like a 2-hour episode, and I really love how that episode turned out. So that was like one of the first times I had a guest on, and Maris did a great job on that. Yeah. Not that, other guests didn't, but it's just one that's always kind of stuck in my heart because it was like the first time I had a guest on, and I think it went really well with the conversation.
Yeah, no, I listened to that whole thing. I thought it was great too. So yeah, that's, I think you've got one thing that helps. I think it probably makes a difference to someone's success doing something creative like a podcast is being a good judge of their own work. You're being able to tell when you're doing well, because so you can repeat your successes and learn from your mistakes. And a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have a lot of trouble sort of judging their own work, and so it's good to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, especially with like a guest too. There's some guests I had early on that it didn't really work as well with the conversation because when I would ask them a question, they would just give me like a one-word answer, and that doesn't really work for a conversation like that. So you kind of learn as you go on, what makes a better guest and what kind of makes for a better conversation. So I've had a lot of guests that are a lot better since then, but early on I had some guests that I would think are not the ideal guest to have back because they might be great to talk to in person or on like Discord or something, but in a podcast setting they weren't equipped to talk about that.
It can be really challenging. I mean, it's a skill. Everyone feels like talking is just a thing everybody does, but talking in a professional setting can be really, really difficult. I mean, certainly Brant and I make no pretense of being particularly good at streaming because what?
You're right.
Yeah,
I'm agreeing. We're terrible.
Yeah, we're probably the worst streamers in the entire world. But
I think you're pretty good.
Well, thank you. But the best streamers out there are ones who are, and this is what Mark Lautenbach, for instance, he goes around listening to, watching a lot of the State of Decay 2 streams that are out there. And the thing that he always, that I think he often reports as being one of the better things is when somebody's really good at talking through the decisions that they're making, and like so that you're not just watching gameplay and seeing somebody, react emotionally to what's going on, but you're also like getting a deeper experience with the game by hearing their decision-making process, hearing their opinions and their feelings about what's going on. Like being able to talk through your own actions is key to be able to do this, and it's hard. It's not something that everyone just does every day. Most people don't follow themselves around with a narrator, basically, but that's kind of what you have to do to be a good streamer.
No, I definitely like that myself because I'm very analytical, so I like, hearing about that. Oh, okay, this is why I'm going to do this. And they're like, that's interesting. That's interesting to hear why you're going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So just to remind everybody, you should stick around because in about 10 minutes we're going to be giving away one of these. Here, you can show. Whoa! One of these State of Decay Skull Eagle pins. In fact, we'll be giving away 3 of them, one on YouTube, one on Mixer, and one on Twitch. So we're going to have a trivia question about 10 minutes.
I didn't mean to get out here.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll get back in then.
Utterly delicious. Who came up with that slogan, Brant?
I'm sure that was McMillan.
That makes sense. So yeah,
there's Bronto Gas.
Microsoft was really nice and sort of stopped by with a lot of their extra swag that they had from previous trade shows and things like that. They brought like a big stack of boxes that are over in our lunchroom right now. So these pins were part of it. So over the next several streams, yeah, we're gonna be. Huh?
Look at that sweet ride.
That is pretty great. Oh wow! I said pretty great looking at the Brogan, which of course I assume you like the Brogan for personal reasons, but yeah, no, that white car. What was the model of that car again? What was it called?
Which one?
Brogan Trekker.
The white one. Muscle car.
I can't remember the name of that.
We should find out. You should take that one out of here.
I'll just walk over to it. Except I'm really hurting.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm inside fighting these guys. I took out one of the streamers and one left.
That's right. It was an homage to Mad Max.
Oh, of course. It's called the Maximilian because of Mad Max. That makes sense.
I gotta jump out the window for a second.
Ow. So, Coconut Kid points out, let's all be thankful that that car audio blowout is fixed. Hey, remember back then when you couldn't play the game without
Yes.
without your ears exploding and then having no audio? Man, those were crazy times. So glad that's over. We were sitting here literally like freaking out for like how long did that last? Like a month or something before we were able to figure it out.
That because we thought we fixed it several times, and it was an incredibly difficult bug to find. To find the actual. There was apparently a couple different causes.
Yeah, and so eventually we got all the right people in the right places with a really nice reliable set of reproduction steps, and once we got everything in the right place, we were able to actually fix it. But yeah, that's one of the things that I'm really glad to be working in this era of game development, where if you ship with a bug like that, or introduce with an update a bug like that, you can always come back and you can fix it. And so it gives us a chance to make this game bigger and better steadily over time, which I mean, there are definitely people who have a lot of nostalgia for the era when you could not release a game until you knew it was perfect because you knew you could never ever fix
hardware, when it was cartridges.
Yeah,
right?
It's like there's no way to patch a cartridge, but at least an old school card. I guess actually the Switch has cartridges and they do actually release updates, but whatever. I mean, back then there was no way to patch a cartridge, and or even. I mean, games. Yeah, even like a lot of the early DVD games, you couldn't do it, but. The point is, that was great, except that if you did release something that had a bug, because sometimes you get bugs there, it's just impossible to find them, or you don't know, you don't realize how often it happens until you got millions of people playing your game.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be possible to release something that has got a problem, and so having the freedom to go in and take your game and make it better, I feel like I'm always going to be grateful that's the area that I'm working in right now. Foamy DC is saying that we should add chainsaws and dual-wielding pistols. So the challenge there, it does sound fun. The challenge there is the fact that anytime you add a weapon that is fundamentally used in a different way from other weapons, you have to add so many animations to the game. Because we've got an animation for aiming guns like this. We've got an animation for aiming guns like this.
There's a ridiculous number of animations per gun type.
Yeah, and we've got pistols and we've got long guns. And that's kind of it. And but each of those has to support a huge number of animations because you have to be able to run around with the gun, aim with the gun, shoot with the gun. You have to be able to be injured while holding the gun, which is a different set of animations. And you have to be able to move in every direction while doing all these things. And it's very, very complex. And so just adding one gun of a completely different type, something like dual-wielding pistols, where now you've got both arms out, or say adding a chainsaw to the melee system where you got to hold it with two hands in a really different configuration. And the attacks are way different from the way you would attack with a sword. It adds so much that you can only really justify adding something like that if you're going to add a lot of it. Like if dual wielding pistols is going to become an entire major way to play the game, then it starts to feel like it's worth the effort. But if you don't, then it's like, man, adding that many animations to support one chainsaw would feel a little bit like, oh, come on, we could spend that animation time building something much bigger and more ambitious than just a chainsaw.
Well, and in our case, animation, or the memory budget.
We're already scraping the roof of that. We'd have to, in order to add a bunch of new animations, we'd have to do something different with the way we're managing our memory.
Yeah, animations are a massive memory hog for us.
Because each character has to run around knowing what they're able to do, basically. And the machine has to keep track of all that stuff at all times.
Yeah, and it sounds like a chainsaw would be really hard to animate too. I mean, because that's a really different way to hold a weapon.
Yeah, and you'd need, and not just you, like your victims would also probably need to react in a different way, right? Because a chainsaw, it's like you look at something like Gears of War, which has a lot of chainsaw deaths.
Yeah.
Both the hero and the enemy have to animate in a special different way in order to react.
They have to do team up animations, which in an open world are very difficult to coordinate across, especially a peer-to-peer network, because now you're like, my machine has to tell Blaises that it's going to do that, and then Blaises has to come back and basically acknowledge that. And what happens if he tries to attack the same zombie?
Yeah, exactly.
It gets crazy. And I mean, it's not to say that we can't do it, or other games have done it, but
it's complex. It's a bigger problem to solve than it sounds like some of the time.
Yeah.
So Matt Sisko asked about heavy weapons coming back. So that's actually a favorite. One of our animators is really into the idea of trying to get those heavy weapon animations into the game. But again, right now we're running up against technical constraints, and so we'll see if that's ever an option in this game. It might be something we have to hold out for, potentially in the sequels or sometime in the future. There's really no way to tell whether we're ever going to actually have the resources to, add an entire new suite of combat animation, which is effectively what that is. But we love the idea. I mean, we're completely on board with it. Heavy weapons were actually in our original plan. We had to cut them because of all of the constraints we were under. So, Wolfman, I don't know if it was you that brought up the issue with crosshairs now going away when you turn the HUD off, but I think somebody on Discord brought that up too. I don't remember if it was you or not, but I definitely heard that. The issue right now is that for a while we were very inconsistent about turning the HUD off. Like, each individual HUD element had to be turned off one at a time, the way that it was set up, and so we would just be missing things all the time. There would be huge parts of the HUD that we would forget to turn off or whatever. And so we went with a method that would just turn off the entire HUD at a more fundamental level. And when we implemented that, that's when the crosshairs went away, because the crosshairs are part of the HUD. And so if we were to go back and leave the crosshairs in separately, we would need to retool that entire system to make it work in a different way. And so that's not saying we can't do it. It's totally a conceivable thing we could do, but it would take a lot of time and a lot of effort. So it would have to be prioritized against other things. But we have heard that, and that you guys want that, and we've put it in our list. So we'll see if we can get to it. Because I understand that, if you like to play with the HUD off, but you also like to be able to aim your guns, I imagine that would be a pretty frustrating situation. Bilbo suggested, by the way, that he wants to have a dog with a jetpack in the game, so that he can launch it as an actual fur missile.
Confirmed. Oh, wait. Can I do that?
Console Freak wants to know if we're ever going to add hazmat suits or masks to the game. I think if we were to do that, we would need a really strong reason to, an environment where that was required. So we'll have to see if that ever happens. I mean, I guess if you're right next to a plague heart, you temporarily might want one. If you're running into a lot of bloaters, you might want one.
Zombie stuck in the car. There we go.
I know that's how it worked in Breakdown when we had the hazmat character. That their main thing was that they were immune to bloater gas, but yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Real quick, if you want to do it before the stream ends, there's Mysterious Broadcast active.
Oh, yeah, let's, next, when you guys are done with combat, let's go check that out. Thank you for noticing that. Because, if we can, I don't know which Mysterious Broadcast it is, but if it's the Plague Researchers, we can get ourselves a facility mod that lets us make Zedd Hunter stuff, which will be good. And then, in a couple minutes, we're also going to do our trivia question.
Is it a question I'd get? Probably not.
No, I think you probably would know this one, actually. But don't answer on the air.
All right, they're all dead. If you want to head over there.
All right.
Cool.
Where's the...
Well, while these guys...
Way on the other side of the map.
While these guys are doing that, I'm going to do the trivia question. So, all right, so here's our trivia question. You notice that with the Zedd Hunter pack, there's been a bunch of new weapons added to the game, a bunch of new melee weapons, and of course the crossbows. There's a few handmade, simple crossbows, but there's some really fancy, high-end, crazy, crossbows. So those silent melee weapons and the crazy crossbows, all of their names start with the same word. And I'm just wondering, what is that word? So folks in the chat, tell us the word that is at the beginning of all of those new weapons' names. And I'm just gonna switch back over here so that you guys can't see each other's answers on the screen. But if you get it, then we've got this lovely pin for you. So it's not necessarily gonna be first come, first serve. On YouTube and on Mixer and on Twitch, we're gonna look at the first, dozen or so answers and pick randomly amongst those folks to find the winner. And so there's gonna be a winner on YouTube, a winner on Mixer, and a winner on Twitch. And we'll send out 3 of these things. You can chat with Megan to figure out where we're sending this. Share your address or whatever. Do that a little bit offline.
Yeah, don't post your addresses.
Hey, don't post your address in the chat. That's not going to be a good idea. But, so Handy Dandy 02 on Mixer is asking, hey, Undead Labs, can you make a hard game? So I believe that we can. In fact, we have committed to, at XO18, you might not have noticed, we announced that there's going to be there's an upcoming update to State of Decay 2 that's coming out in the future where we are going to address people's issues with the difficulty of the game. We haven't gotten into any detail about exactly what we're doing, but if you've got opinions about it, we've actually, if you go to the State of Decay subreddit, we've actually got a post up there, and I think Megan has been posting links in the chat to this thing. If you want to go and participate in the conversation, go to that subreddit and talk to us about how you'd like to see the game get harder. Because yeah, we're working on that now. We've really heard the cries from the community that they want the zombie apocalypse to be deadlier than it is, and so we're gonna answer that call. But we'd love to get your input on it. All right, so it looks like folks are done with their answers. So let's see if we've got any winners. Looks like we've got a winner on YouTube. We've got a winner on Twitch. So while we're waiting for the last winners to come in, Bilbo has a question. He asks, how did we eventually find the audio bug? Where did it come from and how was it fixed? It's extremely technical, and I don't know. Yeah. So Brant and I are both flighty creative types. We are not the technical people who get into the guts of the game and figure out how everything works. It was something that was deep down on a level where it was like where the game talks to the hardware of the Xbox.
Yeah,
it is so deep in there that there's no way Brant and I could ever understand it or explain it. But it did involve consulting. I mean, we had the advantage eventually of the fact that we have a very close relationship with Microsoft. We are now part of Microsoft, and we involved a lot of folks who were over there on the Xbox side to help us figure out what was going on, and that made a big difference. So we're glad to be a part of the Microsoft family here, and it was. I think that probably made it easier for us to get to the answer. Okay, so we do have some winners. So let me see here. Go back to this one. So
I marked it, Brant.
So we've got on YouTube, our winner is. Oh, actually, before I say that, the answer you can see it. Actually, you can see it right up there. The answer is Echo. So all of them start with the word Echo. So lots of people got the right answer. The people amongst the early right answers,
right.
The random selections we made.
Okay, sounds good.
Are Matt Cisco on YouTube. So Matt Cisco, you're going to get one of these. So you can chat with Megan about that. Del Z Slayer. So we love Del.
Way to go, Del.
Del's one of our favorites, so she gets this.
Del's awesome.
And then M4 Droot on Mixer also gets one of these.
Congratulations.
So congratulations, Droot. Congratulations, Del. Congratulations, Matt. You guys are awesome. And let's get back to the game.
I like letting people who actually know our map drive.
So, so Matt.
I got us there pretty fast.
Matt's an interesting situation. We definitely have ways to whisper and send private messages on Mixer and Twitch, but because Matt's our YouTube winner, we need to figure out how to get in contact with Matt. So definitely chat with Megan there in the chat, and let's work out how we can get your prize to you, Matt.
Okay, what do you guys think? Should we recruit Rye, or there's no place in this town for you?
Take a hit and move on.
Drop the crossbow and get out. You're too dangerous to let live.
Prepare to die.
Let's kill him. I want to take him out.
Okay,
you're all. He's been ready. Blaise has been ready for a while.
Okay, so take.
I might hold my shotgun.
Yeah, take aim at that head, Blaise.
Here we go.
It's time for you to...
That's horrible.
Wow.
That was fast.
So
that was fast.
I am so relieved that we did implement death cutting off someone's dialogue, because that would have been really awkward if it died and kept talking, which is totally what could have been possible at some point early in development of the game.
Oh, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna take his fancy new Echo C2 Tonto blade.
Ooh, the Echo. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That must be a really fancy thing if it says Echo at the beginning.
As I take care of all the zombies out here.
Oh yeah.
That's fine. I'm just looting the dead.
All right, you're clear now. I saved you, Brant.
Okay, so we've only got 6 minutes left, and so I want to really make sure that we drive home some of the stuff, the upcoming stuff that you've been setting up for us, Derek, for basically for the entire community of State of Decay. So starting this Friday and Saturday, you've got the new Decay Fest, right? You want to remind people a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so basically Decay Fest is an event that celebrates a new content update in the game, and this one is celebrating Zedd Hunter. The first Decay Fest celebrated Daybreak when that came out. So basically, we're going to have 48 hours, of streamers just streaming Zedd Hunter stuff, and we're going to use using crossbows, and we're also going to be kind of previewing some challenges that are going to happen in Undead Trials. So I can go over that now if you want. Or...
Yeah, actually, yeah. So Undead Trials, that's later on. That's like December 9th?
Yes. So Decay Fest is this Friday and Saturday, and then Undead Trials is December 9th to 15th. It's going to be a week-long event, and this is a competition-based event. So the first competition, as you mentioned earlier in the stream, was on Daybreak. This competition is going to be in the base game, and this is a competition that anyone can join, whether you played 5 hours, 500 hours, it doesn't matter. You can join this competition, and basically we're going to have little mini-games in the competition. So say we had 100 people enter, we're going to take that 100 people, and throughout the week we're going to whittle that down, and then at the end of the event there's going to be one grand winner, and... if you want, I can unveil the prizes for everyone.
Yeah, whatever you feel comfortable doing. I don't know if it's a secret or not.
No, it's not a secret anymore. So, I mean, we got in touch with Megan, and she has told us that the prizes we can offer are a State of Decay 1 t-shirt, a State of Decay pin, a Cleo water bottle, a Undead Labs signed poster, and a Bronto gas jacket. So the grand prize winner will get all that.
The Bronto gas jackets, by the way, are pretty sweet. I've got one.
They are.
So very few people got them. Only a few were made, and so yeah, they are not widely distributed. So that is a really sweet, serious piece of State of Decay loot. So whoever gets that is very lucky.
I actually had to order one when it came out.
Yourself,
I ordered it through the store when it came out, and then I forgot it. It got mailed to a house I don't live at anymore, and so it was there for like 2 years.
It is a thick, heavy jacket too. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
I
the
love
right
it.
season to be getting that jacket. It is good for winter.
Okay, so I'm going to take us
Not
home.
winter everywhere. Maybe in Montana you want to wear something more, but around here.
No, the pictures look awesome, and I would love to get one, so maybe I'll win. Who knows?
I feel
But there are going to be some
Oh, go ahead.
participation prizes, too. So, I mean, if people just enter, then or a pin. So if you enter, then you'll get into a drawing, and basically we're going to do a drawing for people that enter, and somebody's going to win either a t-shirt or a pin.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, so thank you so much for setting up all of these big events, and especially also just for all the work you do on that podcast. Because like I said, it has been an invaluable tool for us. You know, there's a lot of people in the community who are all speaking to us kind of all at the same time. And we're trying to develop better tools for getting good feedback from the community so that we can respond to it and we can give people, the changes and improvements and additions to the game that they actually want. And so so we've got support.stateofdecay.com. So if you have problems with the game, that's the best way that you can report them to us. That the information that you send to us goes straight here to Undead Labs, and we're able to respond to it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
If you can go join our Discord, which I believe that we often post links to the Discord in the chat, and it's going to be in the doobly-doo of the YouTube video. You can come to our Discord to talk to us, and there's devs who hang out in there, and a lot of people in our community, including Derreck Blaise, is pretty active in the Discord. And then, honestly, I think the Blaise XPerience Podcast is actually one of the other really important vehicles that I use to get feedback on the game, because Derreck is so thorough and he talks to so many other people in the community that he provides a really good perspective on the strategy of State of Decay and just a really thorough, in-depth analysis of how the systems work and how all the content comes together. So. It's a great podcast. Folks should check it out. I don't know if Megan's in a position to post the link to his podcast in the chat, but we'll definitely also put a link to it on YouTube. So folks watch this video later, they can pick it up.
And I do want to mention, too, one more thing before the stream ends. Our link to register, if you want to register for Undead Trials, too, then anyone can register.
That's right.
The link to register for it is bit.ly, and then it's /UT2 REG. So
yeah, I meant to
basically stands for UT2 registration.
I meant to put make a title for that so we could put it on the screen. I completely forgot to, but Megan does have that link, and I think we can post that in the chat. And it's also definitely going to be on the in the notes below the YouTube video. So we'll make sure that everybody gets access to it because we really want people to sign up. It was a really fun. The last event was really fun. A lot of people had a great time, and we want people to be able to enjoy this one too.
Thank you. It should be a lot of fun.
So we've got 1 minute left. So what kind of state are we leaving our community in here?
Pretty good, actually. We've got food. The only thing we're short on is we're
ammo.
a little low on bullets.
Yeah, can't imagine why we'd be low on ammo after all of that.
But you're not doing too bad. And I think everything's... we can reactivate the...
And we took out 3 play cards, and I think like 4 infestations for you. So
Yeah.
So that's going to make a huge difference. I really appreciate that. And one of the best things about doing this stream is the fact that my save game gets a lot better every time you guys play. So Das Grimlock, by the way, has one last question. Wonders if neighboring enclaves will be less needy in the future. So with the with 5.0, with the Zedd Hunter update, they actually did get less needy. Allied enclaves now bother you half as often as they used to. We basically just doubled the timer before they do it. And so that will make a big difference. And we've got some ideas in mind for the future to actually, maybe not necessarily make them less needy, but make it more worth your while to keep up with them. So we'll probably have more that we can announce about that later on, maybe next month. In the meantime, I am really glad that Derreck was free to come and talk to us today. Everybody, let me see here, get him on screen. So everybody should go follow Derreck on Twitter. Go check out his podcast, subscribe to his podcast, do all the things because he if you're into State of Decay 2, Derreck is one of your best resources you can have. So Thank you so much for coming on here, Derreck.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks to all of our loyal fans who showed up tonight or today. We really appreciate it. As usual, we wouldn't be here without you, and thanks for the continuing support. Thank you, Geoffrey, for being the voice of State of Decay for us.
I thought you were going to say the voice of reason, but that's really not what I do here. Derreck is the voice of reason. I'm the voice of fumbling around and clicking the wrong buttons. So on that note, I'm going to fumble around and click some buttons.
Thanks, Derreck.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It was really fun playing with you.